Hi, I'm Ronnie from Ronnie's Garage. We're holding our monthly tech meet at my shop, and today we're going to be talking about the differences between the Silver Cloud Bentley 1s, 2s, and 3s. What we're going to talk about today is not the differences between Rolls-Royce and Bentley. We're going to be talking about the differences in the series, the 1, 2, and 3. So that's why we have three examples here. We have Willie's Silver Cloud 1 over there. It's a late Silver Cloud 1, factory air, nice car. We have Gene's Silver Cloud 3, it's a 63, yes. And then we have a Silver Cloud 2 that's not together right now, long wheelbase division that we can look at. There's a lot of clues from the outside when you look at these cars that'll help you figure out which series it is pretty quickly. So what we'll do, now we can go out here. So Silver Cloud 1. This is the Silver Cloud 1 here. The quickest way on these to tell if it's a Silver Cloud 1, if you can get inside or see the steering wheel. First of all, the steering wheel is just a tiny bit larger. Okay, and if you look at the steering wheel, it has the little bumps on the very inside edge. Silver Cloud 1's the only one that has that kind of steering wheel. Well, aside from the Mark 6 and the R-types and all that kind of stuff.
Antenna, too.
No, because I have a Bentley S3 that has that antenna.
Really?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this car here is a 59 or 8? 8. 58, Silver Cloud 1, left-hand drive, factory air. And there's a lot of different air conditioning systems on these cars. Most of them were dealer installed. This one is factory. I'm just going to open up everything here. And the way you know for sure factory or not is you look at the dash. So if you look at the dash, you will see in here, so this is a factory air Silver Cloud 1. It has a switch here. What that means is it has a rear unit, okay, on this one, and you can usually tell the factory airs by those vents. If you see that they're round and they've got little chrome knobs, that's a factory setup. A non-factory setup, which I don't have here now, will typically have some plastic things, and they'll have a grill in the middle. It looks like a receiver on your wall and your central air at your house, and that's where the air goes in, and then it comes out there. The Silver Cloud 1, the factory air cars under the hood, if you look at this radiator, here's your first clue right here. It has a pressure cap, and it's kind of at an angle. The other Silver Cloud 1s, they have a radiator cap that's big and plastic, and it's right here. Yeah, and they have a relief valve someplace else. Also, on the Silver Cloud 1, the factory air has a fan shroud. None of the other Silver Cloud 1s have that. No fan shroud. And since they had to put the air conditioning unit, we've upgraded it to a modern unit because the old one we could never get it to hold Freon. Normally the air cleaner on this model would come up to here. So what they did to get space for that compressor to sit there is they put an oil bath one over here. So usually the factory air ones have that oil bath air cleaner. Okay. So the Silver Cloud 1 and the 2 will have this really tall grill. Giant people. And they only have single headlamps. Why most of the cars have an aftermarket or a dealer installed air conditioning unit is because if the car was shipped to the US, this is for the US market, uncompleted, then there was less duty on it. So then they would put the air conditioning in at the dealer, and then they would complete it. And that was the reason I was told about that. The Silver Cloud 1s and Bentley S1s, they had a straight 6-cylinder engine. And it's an F-head type, is what it's called. It's got a cast iron block with the exhaust valves in the block, so they're facing up. And then the intake valves are in the aluminum head, and they come down. So there's only 6 push rods on this, instead of 12 like a normal overhead valve one would be. The 6-cylinder, this one is loaded. It's got power steering. That's a nice thing. I've driven Silver Cloud ones without power steering, and they require you call it Armstrong steering because you got to have strong arms to turn it.
Ronnie, did the Silver Clouds ever come with a factory installed sunroof?
I don't know the true answer to that. I'm gonna say that they had a lot of those sliding roofs, but I don't know if it was factory installed. It might have been taken to a coach builder and had them put in. I don't know the answer. So if you look at the Mark 6s and R-types, they had factory sunroofs.
Yes.
Okay, and I have seen some Clouds with them, but most of the ones I've seen are those, I forget what they call the name of that. A what? That's it, yeah. It's that sliding.
Yeah, that was a fabric thing.
Yeah, fabric. You had a question?
Yeah, in identifying between a 1 and a 2, take a look where the clock is.
Yes.
The ones have the clock inside that 4 gauge round instrument on here, and the Cloud 2s have a separate place for the clock on the deck.
So what he was talking about, I'll try to get out of the way for you see, is this is actually a 5-in-1, if you want to call it that. It has the instruments, the fuel gauge, temp gauge, oil pressure gauge, and ammeter on the outside, and there's a clock integrated in there. If you go over to the next car and look at that, there's a separate clock hole.
It never works.
Mine works.
I know, it's not working.
No, I just spent what it took. Also on the Silver Cloud ones, they do not have a turn signal lever. They've got this little, they call it a, what's that called again? Traffic, well, no, it's not a trafficator. It's got a switch that's on a timer, so you push it, and then the turn signal will flash until it gets back up to the center, and then it turns off. So you constantly have to either hold it, or if you're at a light for a long time. So that's the dash type. You can look at the dash. The Silver Cloud 2s and 1s have this, looks like a one-piece molded, but it's actually 2 pieces, all wood. If you look at the Silver Cloud 3, it's got a padding on it. It has leather padding on it.
Ronnie, is that Bajor pedal, or I see a small pedal hanging?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, oh that. Oh yeah, this is the Bajor. Okay, this is the central lubricating system for just part of the front suspension. You can get on that other side.
I don't do a good job of pumping and freaking getting excited.
So the Bajor system. What is the Bajor system? We talked about the Mark 6s and R-types last tech meet, and the Bajor, if you look at this reservoir on the firewall, on the Silver Cloud 1, that is filled with 90 weight oil. There's a little pedal under the dash that Chuck pointed out, which looks like a tiny, tiny little gas pedal. It's way down here. You push it down with your foot, and then it returns slowly. Okay, and what that does is it pumps 90 weight oil through a series of little copper pipes to the kingpins for the front suspension, and it actually goes to joints and also the part of the steering linkage. Gets some oil to it. That is, they did away with that when they went to the Silver Cloud 2. They went to just Zerk fittings or grease fittings, same on the Silver Cloud 3. So any Silver Cloud 2 or 3 will not have that reservoir.
And how often do you have to do that?
They're supposed to do it every 300 miles. That's what I read. Typically, you do it right before you go on a drive, or once you get out of the driveway onto the street, then you do it because it's going to drip. And don't do it right before you come back into the driveway, because that system, when everything is right, you will get a drop every once in a while. But when things are not right, sometimes you get puddles. So that means that there's a leak in the system. It's regulated on how quickly it moves through the system.